evening, everyone. We're Group 3. I'm Macy Holdridge.
I'm Jason.
Vincent.
Noah. I'm Joshua.
And we'll be covering the work-life balance and what it means to have job burnout. And we're going to go over the symptoms of what goes on with your body whenever you start burning out and you're working too hard and there's a lot of unnecessary stress, and what we can do to avoid it. We'll also be covering the author of our article that we researched and how he realized that he was also exhausting himself in the workforce. So, as a survey of 1,000 U.S. workers done by ABC, 28% felt overworked, 28% felt overwhelmed, 29% felt like they had no time to reflect, to do their job well, to enjoy what they were doing with their life, and only 15% felt like they had a balanced life where they could go home and relax and not bring work home. And the same amount of people, 70% were dreaming of a different job. So I'm saying, how many people here feel like they don't have a satisfactory job? Does anyone want something more for themselves? Say yeah. What do you not like about your job? School?
I want to work to get income.
Anyone else? I saw a hand over here. Any comments? Alrighty. Only 30% were satisfied with their job. So people were really looking to move forward with their life and get someplace that satisfies themselves personally. And so now I'm going to pass it off to Jason.
So this is Dale Carruthers. He's the CEO of the tech startup company Vox Pop Me, and the author of the article that we referenced, Crushing It, More Like Crushing Me. And so what he talked about in the article was, he would be working 16 hours a day, every day, wake up at 5 a.m., still go back to work, then catch up with investors late at night for drinks, be gone 2 to 3 weeks at a time. And there was this one instance where he missed a flight from London to Tennessee, and he was looking for a rebooked flight, and that's when it really hit him. It was like, I want to go on a vacation, like I want to spend time with my family, sleep in my own bed. And so that's when he came up with the article and touched on 4 lessons that we're going to touch on in the duration of the presentation. Number 1 being there are no CEOs and superheroes. Number 2 being, if you are your business, your health is your business's. Number 3, if you love something, make sure to write it down. And number 4, we're all in this together.
Alright, so job burnouts, we're going to go over it very quick. First, we're going to do the mental part of the job burnout. Alright, so number 1 is depression. It's actually very common in modern day society, just because people really don't like what they're doing and they get really tired of it and they just slump. Anxiety is when people just they can only handle so much until they break down. People get really high anxiety, and people get medication for this. Xanax, they take a lot of it and sometimes overdose. Excessive stress, very common amongst schoolers because you're also trying to balance between school and work, and too much of it can hurt you. And suicide. A lot of suicide is very common. It happens a lot when I was in high school, especially in my culture when parents are always pushing you to do more than what you can actually do. And pictures to represent Britney Spears as she had a mental breakdown. Even though this is old, mental breakdowns do happen and don't look like Britney Spears. Physical happens when mental exhaustion or mental depression leads to when you're tired and you do self-harm to yourself. Fatigue, when you stay up late nights just to do work, happens. Stroke, when you stay up way too long to do anything, and then your heart can only take so much before it stops working properly. Obesity, when you get depression, you start eating a lot of food and stop watching yourself, and health issues occur when you get fat. And heart disease also happens when depression kicks in and you don't watch yourself and your blood pressure starts going up. Japanese has a saying for this of death by overwork, karoshi. It's very common in Japan, even though our society is different from them, to have a culture to name specific death because you're overwhelmed by work is a little overwhelming. And I'll hand it over to Josh.
Thank you, Vincent. And so our second topic would be no CEO in superheroes. Well, let's go ahead and change the word CEO to, let's say, professor. There is no professor in superheroes. There are no students in superheroes. There are no rookies in superheroes. As much as you want super rookies, it's only a title and duties. And there's only so much you can do on, let's say, a 16-hour work week. You really need the 7 to 9 in order to get throughout your day. Because in order to provide a direction, you need enough magnitude, which is the energy you put into your daily lives. And a lot of times, this experience that you receive in getting a title is like a crowning moment of achievement when you first receive it. But unfortunately, it just becomes a title and duties. And there's only so much that you can do. If you try to overwork yourself, you'll end up burning out. And there's a reason why we have different positions. Everybody needs to work together in this case. Different people, like the CEO, and the CFO, and COO, as well as those people working underneath them, need to work together to work towards a goal. And at times they do need a rest.
Thanks, Josh. All right, so the next topic is your health is your business. Now, our author covered the main topic that you have the most control over, which is sleep. You have the most control over your sleep, which affects your health, how you produce your work in the office. Now, after 17 to 19 hours without sleep, you start to be in a state of mentally drunk. All right? So at that point, you are operating at the same level as someone who would have a blood alcohol level of 0.05. That is slightly below being legally drunk. All right? This would affect your effectiveness and efficiency. Ask yourself a question. Do you want your coworkers for you to be known as the person who is always so tired, doesn't get his job done well, isn't truly effective at what he does or what she does? So with that being said, we're going to move on to getting everything scheduled out and a sound plan. All right, so at this point, I want everyone to either take out their phone, a piece of paper, and we're going to write down 3 things that we find important to ourselves. All right? So I'll give you a couple seconds to do that. I will write my own list. So I find family, friends, and my GPA to be 3 very important things to me. All right? Next, we're going to find out what we prioritize in this list. We want to find out what is the most important thing to us in this list. All right? For me, that'd be family. So I'm going to circle it, put it outside the list, make sure you know that it is something truly important to you. All right? Third thing, we're going to share. So normally, I'd ask you to do this with someone close to you, but I'd say I'm pretty close with all of you in this classroom. So could I get someone to volunteer, just say what they find was most important to them? Please, anyone. Doesn't have to be the most important thing.
As of right now, my GPA.
Okay. So we got GPA up here. Anything else that's important to anyone that we can write down up here?
My health.
Health. All right, that's a good one. All right. After you share with people close to you, or just a friend, just someone you know who would know where your priorities are, what you find is important to you. Next, we're going to schedule it. Find out how you're going to prioritize these. Make sure that my most important thing is family. Would I want to spend 60% of my time on that over 40% of the time on my other priorities? Do I want to spend 40% on family but spend like 20% on everything else individually? After you figure that out, it's time to make a journal. Write it down. We need to know exactly what you're going to do throughout the week, throughout every day. Figure out just exactly how you want to spend your time during that 24 hours, 7 days a week, what you're going to do to make this possible. All right? Now I'm going to pass it off to Vincent.
Pass it off to Jason. Thank you, man.
My bad.
So the last lesson, is it okay to, right? So what Mr. Carruthers is trying to state here is if you ever find yourself in a situation like his, right, the first bullet point is okay to sleep, nap, right? Mayo Clinic says you need 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night so your brain can be refreshed the next day and you can de-stress yourself. But if you find yourself to where you're not, clocking in 7 hours a night, take 10 to 20 minute power naps a day, get your brain refreshed just like you would to sleep like 7 to 8 hours a night. The second and third bullet point, take a break and personal time go hand in hand together. Take a break, 10, 15 minutes out of your day, if you need to de-stress yourself, if you're ever caught in a situation like his, or personal time. There was this one post that I was reading on LinkedIn recently where an associate was not doing so well in her job, where like she would be messing up on consecutive projects back to back, right? And so her management team said, 4 out of 5 people said, let's fire her. But her manager said, you know what, I'm gonna give her another opportunity, let me go talk to her. And so he went and talked to her, and she was like, I'm going through problems at the house, problems with her husband, with a child, things of that nature. So he said, you know what, I'm gonna give you 2 weeks paid time off, go do what you have to do, and then come back to work with a bright smile. So that she took 2 weeks off, took care of her family situation, came back to work, and everything was good. So regarding the personal time, talk to whoever you need to talk to, right? And be honest with them, and then 100% of the time, they're gonna allow you to take some time off, fix what you ever have to fix, and then come back to work, stress-free and not be overwhelmed. And then lastly, seek help. If none of the above works out, or whatever you do to get out of a situation like Mr. Carruthers, then just seek help, talk to someone you're close to, or go to a professional like a doctor, and then do what you have to do so you can get out of this type of a situation. Because at the end of the day, we want our mental health to be at 100%. So whatever situation we get into, we have that balance, and we find that balance between all different types of categories. So these are our resources, and if y'all have any questions.
Thank y'all so very much.
Thank you.